started. So today we are having a discussion on yes.
Hey, I was just gonna ask a favor real quick. Can we break around 9:45 because I'm leaving at 10. I want to just say all my proper goodbyes to everyone real quick.
Oh, you're graduating? You're like going off at 10?
Yeah, I'm spreading my wings, man.
Wow. Congratulations, dude. Heck yeah. Anybody else graduating?
No.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. I would love that. You have to leave at 10, you said?
About 10:15. 10 between 10 and 10:15. My ride gets here.
Okay. Did you do a graduation? Did they do that for you?
Yeah, that's what I think we were gonna do at 9:45. Just real quick.
I mean, yeah. How do you guys do graduation?
We hope and fear.
Hope and fear, pass a coin around and shit?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, dude, I would love to do that. I love doing that type of shit, dude. I am so happy to see people graduate. Absolutely. So if you want to do it at 9:45, we can absolutely do it then. I would love that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Okay, well, let me give you some knowledge before you go, because this is actually the type of shit that is right up your alley with what we're talking about today. 10th step. All right. We're all about 10th step today. And just keep in mind, the 10, 11, and 12 are all about maintenance. So when you're trying to promptly make amends, when you're working on prayer and meditation to improve your conscious contact, and when you are coming to these spiritual awakenings, generally, this is maintenance stuff. Okay. 1 through 3 is decision making. We decide that we want to put the work in. 4 through 9 is where we actually put the work in. And once you put the work in and you end up getting the result that you want, there's still more work that has to be done. All right. And this is about not necessarily what is the work that has to be done, but it's a lot about the journey of continuing to do the work that has to be done and trying to build a deeper and stronger relationship with not only ourselves, but what we're doing and our feelings and our character, etc. So bro, I could jazz about this fucking forever. So we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Okay, what the hell does this mean? First off, we are continuing to take this personal inventory, which means that for a period of time, we've been taking a personal inventory, and that personal inventory may have been in an effort to discover patterns about how we handle emotions, how our character begin to develop this way. In addition to that, maybe even how we have some shortcomings, how those shortcomings have impacted us, etc. Now, if we were gonna, just to give you an analogy real quick, with anything, there's many different analogies that you could do. At this point, when you are working on continuing to take a personal inventory, okay, you have completed. So you're done with the program. You know what I mean? It's done. You're graduating. You've restored the car. You've restored yourself to sanity. You have lost the weight. You've done the diet. You worked the program. You worked the steps, whatever the case may be. This is about what do you do now, right? In the case of, just consider like a car restoration, right? If we were going to do a car restoration, you restore the car, you get it back to the condition that it was in, so it's drivable, right? You're using it to go to work, etc. The 10th step is where you change the oil, you check the tires, you fill it with gas, you keep the windshield wiper fluid going. If you got to change the windshield wipers, you change that. This is where you change maybe your driving patterns. Instead of driving this car like it's a race car, maybe you start driving this car a little bit safer, DOG, no. Hey. Sorry, my dog's eating the wrong dog food. I can't have him eating that dog food. Now, Maybe if you lost weight, maybe if this was like a weight loss journey or something like that. Somebody wants to lose weight, get on a diet, do something like that. This is where you've lost the weight. This is where you are continuing to do whatever you did that got you this result, okay? Say you want to, any goal, it really doesn't matter. If you wanted to make a certain amount of money, right? You wanted to get a promotion, boom, you got the promotion. Now it's about continuing to show up to work on time, perform at your job, et cetera, et cetera. So now what is going to make this is by the way the continuation of the personal inventory. And what are we taking a personal inventory of? We're taking an inventory of our decisions, right? We're taking an inventory of what am I doing every single day, and not just our decisions about who to be around. How am I treating my family? What am I doing with my time? Have I left things undone that I should have done? Are there things that I did that I wish I didn't do? This is about where we start to look over some of those decisions that we've been making, try to figure out like a serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is hopefully what we're doing at this point, continuing to make good, healthy decisions that align with our morals. In addition to that, we may be continuing to manage our emotions. So we're managing decisions, we're managing emotions, and these are the inventories that we're taking. We're inventorizing our decisions, and then we may be inventorizing our emotions. So have I been angry? Have I been tired? Have I been sad? Have I been happy? Why am I happy? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? From doing this personal inventory, maybe these answers start to come up, and maybe we can recognize these things happening far before they become a major problem, right? So before I end up getting in major depression or even depression, maybe I can identify that I'm a little unhappy right now. Maybe I can identify some future problems that could be occurring if I continue to act this way. In addition, we're going to look at character as well. Character and shortcomings. Okay. So we're going to continue to take an inventory of our character and our shortcomings. We're going to continue to look at our mental and moral quality, right? Mental and moral quality. Is this the right thinking? Is this the wrong thinking? Am I behaving in a way that aligns with who I want to be? Am I behaving in a way that perhaps is has the potential to make me become another person that I don't want to become, right? All these questions may come into play when we're doing, and am I failing? Was there a time or a circumstance or something where I failed at defending what I thought was the right way to behave or what I believed was the correct thing to do, and taking a inventory of these things, continuing to take this inventory can probably help us prevent major character defects from coming back, major shortcomings from re-arising. We don't want to, it's okay if we make a mistake or we fail at something, but we don't want it to be a major mistake. We don't want these mistakes to pile up so that they become totally unmanageable to the point that we have to make a large amends, okay? Now, while we're continuing to take this inventory, we are destined to be wrong. Like failure, fault is bound to happen on this journey, all right? When we are wrong, we need to promptly admit it. So part of why the fourth step is so difficult for some people, right, is what you're looking at is a long timeline, right, of people refusing to look at their shortcomings, their decisions, or their emotions. And as a result of not looking at our decisions, how we handle our decisions, how we handle our emotions, and how we handle our character and our shortcomings in the past over an accumulated period of time for things like our addiction, perhaps, from not taking that inventory, it has produced this need for a major amends. Now unfortunately, we have to make this big amends. You know what I mean? Maybe before I could have just said I'm sorry and moved on, but now I'm sorry isn't even working anymore. So the 9th step, 4 through 9, is difficult because that is a large inventory. Oh my God. Some of us have been drinking for 30 fucking years. Some of us have been using for who knows how long. So what this is saying is that we're going through a huge inventory of our entire, like if you were going to fill, let's say you buy a grocery store, okay, and you're going to restore this grocery store so you can start, getting it back into what it was. The first thing you would need to do, this is like filling your entire grocery store. What do you want in it? And that is your first inventory, the one that you do 4 through 9. What is in here? What do I have in here? What do I need? What do I keep, etc.? This part is where when something's empty, you refill it. Not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Maybe once, if anybody ever work in a grocery store or something like that before, ever taken inventory before? Yeah, right. So I see one. What's it? What is it? You just, when it's empty, you fill it, right? Maybe once a day, maybe a couple times a week, they're going up and down their section, checking what they got, and even the employees in between shifts are completing an inventory. Like if you work at a grocery store, your job is to recognize something is empty, get your ass into the back and bring it out and fill that shit. And let me tell you something. If you want to stay in recovery, it's your job to recognize you just fucked up and amend that shit. If you don't do that, these amends are going to pile up. And people are just the same way as if you don't stock your shelves or you're out of something, you have people coming, always just coming over being like, hey, do you have any strawberries? Do you have any strawberries in the back? Do you think you could go check the back? And I don't know if you've ever, apparently some of us haven't worked in a grocery store. That's fucking annoying. That is annoying as shit. No, I'm not going to go in the back. I'm not. Sorry. I already went in the back fucking, 4 times before. And that's not the attitude that we want to have with these. We want to promptly make this amends. Yes, I will check that. Or I'm sorry. Tell them the truth. I'm sorry we don't have any. I have checked the back. We're out of stock right now. Sorry about that. And hopefully next time you buy more strawberries, right? Hopefully next time you recognize this and you make the amends. You say, I'm sorry, I acted on this defect, or I'm sorry, I did this or that, or whatever the case may be. Now, from this daily inventory, what you'll be able to identify is patterns. And hopefully, we want to identify and find patterns. And then we want to be able to represent these patterns. And we want to be able to, what's the next one? Identify patterns, represent the patterns, and then I'm trying to remember. Hold on. Represent the patterns, and then make assumptions and do cool things. So from your 4th step, you're through 9, or all the work that you've done before, including this, you're going to identify patterns. Now, 4 through 9 is a large inventory where you identify patterns. And we represent these patterns of behavior, of thought, of perspective with the things that I put above. We represent them with emotions, like a language almost. Like we call them resentments and fear and shame and guilt and relationships. And we make decisions. We call it self-will and God's will and things like that. Character defects, shortcomings. We represent them with these words. And what the identifying these patterns can do is allows us to make assumptions of what's the next behavior, what's the next part of this pattern, right? And when you know what the next part of the pattern is going to be, when you're aware, you can proactively take action. Now, you could say, like when you handle your emotions, when you do a fourth step, you're probably going to say something like, yeah, this is how I would probably act if I got treated unfairly. Like, damn, I'm afraid right now. This is how I probably would act, etc., etc. And the same thing happens with this daily inventory. So maybe I can identify some patterns in my day-to-day behavior. Maybe I can represent these patterns through some means of language. Or how am I going to represent these patterns? You're going to represent it by doing the fucking work, by actually maybe doing a living the program IP number 9 or something like that, and make assumptions. Like, I assume that if I keep on acting this way, I might be depressed. I assume that if I keep on feeling this way or doing this thing, then maybe I will be in recovery even longer. I don't know how you want to imagine it, you know? And why do you do this? So you can do cool things. Look, I didn't get sober to stay in my fucking house afraid of being exposed to drugs and alcohol. You know what I'm saying? I want to go to concerts. I want to do cool things. I want to go to concerts. I want to go out to the movies. I want to hang out with my friends, etc., etc. If I know these patterns and I can make assumptions about my behaviors, maybe I can change them so I can do cool things. I can implement a power greater than myself or some sort of thing like that, you know? That way I can actually do the things that I want to do. Okay. Everybody's with me? Raise your hand if you're with me. Excellent. Fantastic. All right. We're going to get into any questions so far, comments. Do you follow what I'm saying right now? Now, by this part, you might be like to a degree restored. Like, you need to believe more recovery is possible. You need to believe more change is possible. You need to believe that it's almost worth it to continue to do this work in order to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little bit of literature so we can see what the book has to say about this. And then what we're going to get into is we're going to have a discussion about the difference between feeling and doing, right? We're going to talk about things that feel good but might be bad, things that might feel bad but are actually good. And we as addicts don't like feeling bad. we avoid bad, uncomfortable, painful feelings. So we're going to have a discussion on, what might happen if we end up doing something like that. Through working the first 9 steps, our lives have changed dramatically, way beyond what we expected when we first came to this program. We've become more honest, humble, and concerned about others, less fearful, selfish, and resentful. But even such profound changes aren't guaranteed to be permanent. Because we have a disease of addiction, we can always return to what we were before. Because recovery has a price. It demands our vigilance. We have continued doing all the things we have been doing for recovery so far. We have continued to be honest, to have trust and faith, to pay attention to our actions and reactions, and to assess how these are working for us or against us. We also have to pay attention to how our actions affect others, and when the effects are negative or harmful, promptly step forward and take responsibility for the harm caused and for repairing it. In short, we have to continue to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. These are not guaranteed changes. Although we have changed, the keeping of these changes are not guaranteed. I mean, you ever seen someone who lost a lot of weight and then gained the weight back? You ever seen someone who was sober for a really long time and then relapsed, right? You ever seen and when you go to the what happened, they stopped doing what they were doing. They just stopped. You know what I mean? Oh no, I just stopped going to the gym. And maybe And when you go back to the motive or the exact nature of why they stopped doing these things or what changed, maybe if you are doing a daily inventory, it's easier to identify those things. It's scary to be like, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what the fuck happened, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, that's not good. We want to be able to know if we're ending up somewhere. And dude, like I mean, you guys have probably heard plenty of stories in here about people being like, I had years clean, I had 6 months clean, or whatever the case may be. And people are like, what happened? And they're like, I stopped going to meetings, I stopped calling my sponsor, you know, or maybe they're like, this major dramatic thing happened in my life. You know, I had a death of a loved one. I lost my job. How many people do you know relapsed during COVID? You know what I mean? Things like that. Taking this inventory, right, might also show you what fucking works for you. Like, wow. So you mean to tell me you got 3 years sober working a 12-step program? Fuck yeah, keep doing that. Why don't you try that again? You know what I mean? It seemed to have worked for you. Maybe you'll get 3 years sober again. And then somewhere along the way, you can check yourself. You know what I mean? This is a tool for self-accountability. No one is going to hold you accountable. This is where it's you holding yourself accountable and recognizing some of these problems, hopefully before they come major problems. As you can see, this step has us repeat much of the work we did in 4 through 9, though in a much shortened format. The format suggests in this guide is one that covers in a general way the elements of a personal inventory. Some of us may find that we need to add questions that focus on specific areas that are affecting our individual recovery to the questions already in this guide. We may find some additional areas to focus on in IP number 9. Our sponsor may be giving us specific direction at this point. As we noted before this guide started, point not the final word on any of the steps. So how do you imagine doing a personal inventory? How do you imagine benefiting from a personal inventory? What are the benefits that you might get from continuing to do this inventory?
Bring your mind.
Free mind. What else?
Self-awareness.
Great. I feel like more trust would be built, right? Like if you continue to do this, people aren't going to just be sitting back waiting for a relapse. Do you ever have that shit? Where people are kind of sitting back like, yeah, we'll see what happens. They always do this. This is what they always do. They always fucking go to rehab and this and that, you know. From continuing to take this personal inventory, trust can be built because you're extending the work that you're doing to maintain these changes you've built. What else do you imagine are some benefits?
It's less overwhelming.
I mean, if you're on step 10, I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, this is an assumption. Okay, I'm assuming right now. My personal experience and anecdote was when I was on step 10, I was pretty in recovery, you know. By the time I was on step 10, it was almost as if I restored some relationships. I had a job. I wasn't volatile emotionally. You know, I became this new person through thinking of things differently. Like I thought it was bad to call out of work. You know what I mean? I thought it was bad to end a conversation asking my mom for money or something like that. And from maintaining my personal responsibilities, yeah, my life becomes a lot less overwhelming. It's pretty overwhelming when every day you're waking up late, rushing to get ready in fucking 5 minutes to be out the door. That's overwhelming, you know? And some people say that that's the right way to behave. They think that it's okay to wake up, throw on clothes, brush my teeth, if that, and get into the van or get into the car and go to work or whatever the case may be. And you can't sit here and say that, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, that's right or wrong. I don't think that's right. I think that I should wake up early. I should get myself prepared so I can leave on time and make it to places on time. Because if I'm waking up 5 minutes early, yeah, I can get there. If I'm only waking up 5 minutes before I have to leave, I can get there. But there's a higher risk. I'm more likely to show up late or something like that. And if someone's taking a daily inventory, maybe they're saying to themselves, I'm fucking showing up late like every day for work. And if you're not taking that fucking inventory, your boss is. You know that? Like, your boss is noticing how fucking late you are, you know? And if you continue to do that shit and they say, hey, man, I'm firing you because you're late, we can't get angry. We get angry about that. We get, what the fuck? What do you mean, bro? What about so-and-so? They're always late. Dude, come on, man. You take responsibility, dude. Oh, man. So, yeah, less overwhelming, so on and so forth. Now, what do you guys think is the difference between feeling and doing? What's the difference between feeling and doing? Like, does anybody go ahead?
Feel like what don't want to do?
Say that again?
Well, I would say lazy.
Lazy? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Being lazy feels great. What am I doing? Being lazy.
So
Right.
feeling would be the emotion and doing would be the action.
Yes, correct. Emotion versus action. So let's kind of define these things real quick and have a brief discussion on them. And then we're going to, in about 15 minutes, we're going to take a break to do the graduation. And then we'll continue from there. So an emotion, this is a definition I'm about to throw out at you, is a natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances. Fuck 12. Fuck 12. Circumstances, moods, and relationships with people, objects, and concepts. Okay, so an emotion is a natural instinctive state of mind deriving from circumstances, moods, and relationships. So someone has to say, naturally, I would embody this state of mind because of the circumstances I've been exposing myself to, the moods I've been exposing myself to, the relationships I've been exposing myself to. If I'm not taking an inventory on my emotions, why I feel this way, how did I start feeling it, when did I start feeling this way, then I might not be able to diagnose what I'm doing that causes me to feel this way, or I could misdiagnose what's causing me to feel this way. And I mean, everybody in active addiction was doing this shit. You know, why am I depressed? Why am I anxious? Why am I this or that? Well, it's because of our drinking, but we don't associate what we're doing, drinking, the action, with the emotion. We think that we are emotionally in that depressive state or whatever the case may be because of someone else or the certain. It's like plausible. Yeah, that might be true, but it's not if we're drinking, you know? So we have to start looking at some of these emotions as natural, like naturally you would feel that way. As a result of like who we surround ourselves with, what we're doing, what are we thinking, you know, how are we feeling, what are we exposing ourselves to, etc. Now, we want to link our feeling with what we're doing. So I'm gonna let me see if I can get a actual definition of do or doing. Let me share my screen with you so you can watch as I do my research. Doing definition: the activities in which a particular person engages. So the doing is the actual behavior that someone is engaging in. What the fuck did I just do? Activities in which a particular person engages. Activities. So, our emotions are naturally produced as a result of the activities we're engaging in. You follow me? Our emotions are direct results of the activities that we are engaging in. So if I feel happy, then perhaps it's from doing something that is making me happy. If I'm sad, it's probably from doing something that's making me sad. Then there is the disconnect between feeling and doing, right? What's something that feels great but is bad?
Drinking alcohol.
Thank you. Hell yeah. What else?
Smoking dope.
Smoking dope. Drinking alcohol, smoking dope. What else? Did just like you could go off the rails with this, you know? You know what's really fun? Revenge. I love revenge. I'm a big that stuff feels great, you know? Fighting. I like fighting. I'm a big fighter. Fighting feels fun. I love arguing and fighting and all that shit. What else? Feels great. Might be bad.
Holding a grudge.
Holding a grudge.
Cussing, using foul language.
Cussing. What else? Cheating. I mean, you're having sex. That must feel great, you know?
Feels great at the time.
You're hitting the nail on the head right there. Like it feels good. But what are you doing? You know what I mean? Drinking alcohol feels great, but what are you actually doing? Right? What about, check this out. What feels horrible, but is good? Feels bad, but is good.
Exercise.
Exercise.
Eating healthy.
Detoxing.
Absolutely. Apologize.
Apologizing. Fuck. Not cussing. Right. What's the opposite of cheating? Loyal. You know. I mean, it's maybe exercising. Feels great. I mean, feels like shit, but is good. You know, what I really want to do is eat a Big Mac, but I shouldn't. You see? Now, naturally, somebody may be more inclined to eat a Big Mac for many reasons, time, effort, etc. But it's not fucking good. And naturally, somebody would feel that way as a result of how it's produced, right? When you go back to the first step. I mean, what about relapse? Maybe for someone, relapsing is a great idea. This is good. I'm going to do this. This is a good idea. I can manage this. I can control this. And what are you actually doing? You're fucking it all up, you know? Anybody ever have an experience where you like felt good about doing something that was bad for you? Every day? Is that what I heard? Like cigarettes feels fucking great, dude, you know? But what am I actually doing? Sleeping in. You know what feels not good? Saying to yourself, I'm going to bed at 9 p.m. I'm gonna shut the lights down. You know, I'm just gonna go to bed at 9 and maybe I'll wake up at like 5 or 6. That's like tough sometimes. Some people don't want to do that, but what are you doing? You're actually getting good sleep, which is like the number one thing you could do for mental health is get good quality sleep. Right now, maybe people feel like they're like, I don't know, being in rehab, you know, oftentimes people come in with shame and fear and resentment, etc. Maybe they feel depressed or something. But what are you actually doing? You're changing your entire fucking life. You're doing everything that you need to be doing to restore the relationships. And the only requirement is to continue to do that day after day after day after day to produce the results that you want. And that's the purpose of the daily inventory. Maybe it feels like shit having a fucking grown-ass adult tell you it's fucking curfew or bedtime. Maybe it feels like shit someone chasing you around being like, I need you to pee in a cup. I need you to do this. Maybe you don't like putting your phone away or being alert or focusing, or maybe you don't like what I have to say or talking about recovery all day or that shit. But what are you actually doing? That's recovery, dude. If you don't want it, then I don't know. What are you going to do? What's your way? Your way must feel great. What's that? Going home? Sitting on the couch, doing nothing, having a drink. You know what people who are on a weight loss journeys probably say? Man, I would love to eat some fucking pie right now. I would love to have a slice of cake. Somebody bring me a fucking pizza or something like that, you know? This fucking dog, yo. Hold on one second. Somebody bring me a goddamn pizza, you know? But what are you actually doing? You're ruining and wasting you're not ruining or wasting, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, somebody shouldn't have a cheat meal or something, but you need to be aware of what you're doing. And alcoholism doesn't fit into that cheat meal type of category, right? We may treat drugs and alcohol as if it's like a food, but that's an active addiction. We no longer have to use. Using is now perhaps a choice. Like, I don't have to live that life anymore. What does that mean? I don't have to. I don't have to. You know what it is? I remember when I first got sober. The last time I used drugs, I said, this is not the last time I'm using drugs. It's not. Anybody ever said that before? And you know, what's that?
Is that I don't tell myself that I can never drink again in my life. I just say that. I mean, I know I can't, but if I put that thought out there, it kind of helps me.
Anybody else? You ever say that to yourself? Like, this is not the last time I'm using again. When your last time using, perhaps you're thinking about your last time using and you're like, dude, that can't be my story. Recovery is when you accept that's your fucking story. Recovery is when you say that was the last time I'm using. And until you can say that, bro, there's going to be a reservation in the back of your fucking mind. You need to start saying to yourself, that was the last time I'm using. And yeah, going off of what Robin said, maybe you have to say just for today, you know, but until we start working on retaining that perspective, it might be a little bit difficult for us to stay on the journey, you know. You need to surrender the idea that I'm going to use again. And until you surrender that, it's going to be difficult putting in the work and wanting to put in the work that's going to prevent you from using again. It's just, I mean, it just is what it is. Like if I was sitting there with that type of mentality trying to hang on to it, perhaps I would never be where I am today. We use step 10 to create and maintain a continuous awareness of what we're feeling, thinking, and even more importantly, what we're doing. Before we begin a regular pattern of personal inventory, it's imperative that we understand what we're assessing. It won't do much good to make a list of our feelings without tying them to actions that they generate or fail to generate. Not only what is making me cause depression, but if I'm going to try to do something that's getting me out of depression, I need to figure out if that behavior is failing to get me out of it. Like, is this not working? I need to know if it's producing what I want and if it's not producing what I want. We may often be feeling very badly, though behaving very well, or vice versa. For instance, an NA member walks into her home group. "How are you?" someone says. "Terrible," she replies. Of course, this member is referring to the way she feels. She can't possibly be referring to what she's doing because she's behaving very well indeed. She's going to a meeting, honestly expressing how she feels, and reaching out to another member who will be supportive. On the other hand, we may be busy indulging our impulses and acting on other character defects. On the surface, we may feel very good. It usually takes a while before we notice the emptiness that goes along with living this way. We're avoiding the work that will help us stay clean. We're indulging in our impulses and taking the easy way out. And we know where this will take us. This step will keep us aware of ourselves so we don't end up going to either extreme. We don't have to beat ourselves up because we feel badly. We can instead focus on positive action we're taking. It may even turn out that by shifting our focus this way, we'll end up feeling better too. Staying aware of what we're doing helps us see patterns of destruction long before we become entrenched. So we don't wind up feeling good at the cost of what's good for us. We as addicts also tend to make judgments about what we're feeling. Anything that makes us feel bad, we immediately want to stop. We often don't take into account that the way we're feeling makes perfect sense when we consider our circumstances. For instance, many of us have problems with being angry. We don't like the way it feels. We judge it, conclude we have no right to feel this way, and then we do our very best to suppress our angry feelings. Yet, we may be experiencing a situation that would make anyone angry. Perhaps we're in a relationship with someone who constantly fails to treat us with respect. Perhaps we've been passed over for several well-deserved promotions at work. Our response to these situations is anger. We've been treated poorly, of course, and we're angry. Now comes the moment when our recovery can propel us forward into greater self-respect, or our disease can drag us down into a thick fog of depression. Okay, we are going to I'm going to go back to reading that after the graduation, but let's do the graduation. Yeah. So start on whatever side of the room, and we'll go around one at a time, and we'll just say, what was it? Fears and something else?
I thought I was just going to say goodbyes.
Oh. Yeah, however you want it. That's usually what I do, is like have everybody go around and say nice things.
I definitely just wanted to at least say goodbye to everyone before I bounced out, you know. But we can do it however.
Yeah, I say, go around real quick, and if you guys have something to say, give them some words of wisdom and like things to look out for, real quick.
Yeah, I'll get started real quick.
Whoever wants to start.
No, wait for him to come back in the room.
Oh, where'd he go?
We're gonna get a few other people.
Oh, okay. Excellent. This is very cool. Yeah, if anybody, so usually when I do a graduation, we do a coin out, and there's a coin, and each person is given the opportunity to put nice things in the coin and things to look out for. So when he comes back, that's kind of I say we do that kind of structure. I gotta let my dog back in.
I bid you all farewell.
Oh, are you just dipping? You gonna give us words? Are we allowed to can we do a coin out for you or what?
Yeah.
All right, have a seat right there. Sit down.
Right here?
Well, wherever. Sit in the center.
I'll
So,
sit.
yeah, heck yeah.
We'll start with you, man.
Sarah, my man. Awesome to know you for these 2 weeks, even though it was short. I'm gonna call you every day.
Call me every day, man.
Good luck with everything.
Okay.
You're gonna be all right.
I'm gonna be fine, man. This guy.
Sound like a man with that.
Yeah, you see over there?
Happy you're going to a sober living and get the shit right. I hope you fucking do, man.
We do.
I fucking, you shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,